Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan and I hope you're keeping safe and well. And I have a lady with me today and she wants me to tell her story. Um, okay. Her name is Catherine and right, she says she lived in the year of our Lord 1529. This is her words, not mine. And she was burnt as a witch. Now, this is the first time I've ever had anybody like this come through. And I feel that it's a privilege for me to tell her story. Anyway, she lived in a rural area in England. She's not telling me where she's from. Right. She was what we would call today a midwife. She says because I had the ways of childbirth. She had 3 children of her own. She believed in what we would call today natural remedies, herbs and things. So she was a herbalist, and right, everything was fine, everything was good. She used to take children to school and or to the place where they were educated. She used to go to church every Sunday. She was what they would call in them days a God-fearing Christian. Why you fear God, I do not know, but that's my own. I shouldn't bring my own feelings into this. She's saying that anybody who was having a child, whether it be a rich man or a pauper, called for her. Right. She was in her 30s, but she was regarded, same as her mother, and her mother before her, as having the ways of childbirth and medical matters, a bit like a doctor today. And she even used to help horses give birth. Any animals, she'd be there. So she was a medical orientated person. Right. She's telling me that one day she got a chap knocking on the door. She lived on the outskirts of a woodland area, and she had her own. She used to grow her own crops and things like this, just for her. That's all. She says that she didn't eat meat. She ate mainly vegetables. And she got a knock on the door one day from a young chap. Come quickly. There's a problem. So she ran after this young lad, and she took him to the local landowner's house where his wife was giving birth. She's saying it was a difficult birth and she tried her best. Her husband was told to go outside because there'd be not surgery, but she'd have to help with the birth. Right, she's saying that the birth was breached, so she would have to help the person giving birth. She helped the person, and unfortunately the child passed away. Right, she's saying it wasn't stillborn, but it passed soon after it was born, because it had defects to it. It was a boy. It was a boy, and it had medical defects with it for whatever reason. I don't know, and we're not going into this. But because she lost the child, the husband was told, and he said that wasn't there anything they could do, and she said no. And because it was coming up to All Hallows, or Halloween as we call it today, he branded her a witch. He says she'd used witchcraft to lose his son, and if it hadn't been for her, it would have survived. She says no, it's problems with the child, not the birth, but problems with the child. Just excuse me a second. This is quite a real intense story. An argument ensued, and she stormed off, and obviously the child was left with the mother, and an hour, maybe 2 hours later, I don't know, but a length of time passed, and all of a sudden, then banging the door down in her cottage, in Catherine's cottage, and she was being dragged out of her bed, and she was tied with her hands with a rope and dragged out. She says that there were 4 men, soldiers or kingsmen, came to arrest her on witchcraft charges, and they dragged her out and they put her on the back of a cart and took her to the local, not jails as such, but like a dungeony type place. She's showing me what it looked like, and it's hideous. She was taken into this area, into this dungeon area. She was thrown down some stairs. She was then beaten up, punched and kicked, and then put on a metal grid. A metal grid. She was stripped. This is horrendous. She was stripped and put over a fire and asked if she confessed, then all this would stop and they would give her a merciful strangling. I'm fine. She kept saying that she wasn't a witch, and they put a hot iron on her cheek and her face, and she was then taken from that and put into boiling water. She didn't confess. They left her in pain, bleeding. And then from there, the local priest brought a bishop, and they pronounced that she was a witch. And on Halloween night, I do apologise, the day after Halloween, I do apologise, she was taken outside with quite a few others and burnt on the stake as a witch. Her children were left to fend for themselves. Part of her evidence, their evidence against her, I do apologise, because this is horrendous, absolutely horrendous. But part of the evidence that they used against her is because she used to have a couple of cats, and they just happened to be black cats. And she says, I like cats. And she says, all because the child passed when she was delivering it, that she says, I'm not a witch. She says, I'm not a witch, and I never will be a witch, but I was branded a witch, and therefore she wasn't entitled to it. And she was a Christian. She went to church. Not that that's anything to go by, but she used to go to church every Sunday and do what everybody else did. All she did was she was the midwife, the local midwife and the local herbalist with medical knowledge, and she used to help people. I lived on the outskirts of the village because it was better to grow my herbs in a garden away from people than what it was in a town where animals and things can get in and eat them. So that's what she chose, to be away from people, but which nothing wrong with that. People do that all the time. They always have done and always will do. But because the local landowner, obviously it must have been an authoritative figure, all because it was his child that were born and then passed. He didn't like it, so he branded her a witch. And she passed in excruciating pain. And people will say they didn't do torture over here. Well, I'm telling you, these people that's come forward and told me their account, they did. But this is horrendous, absolutely horrendous. It's a shame about this person. And it's just, I'm nearly in tears with it. You're welcome. She's thanking me for telling me her story, and she hopes that people will forgive her, although I personally feel there's nothing to forgive. It's somebody who was upset about his child passing and didn't know what to do and blamed it on somebody else. Catherine, it's been a privilege for you to come forward and brave and tell me your story. She's saying that she's finally found somebody who can give her an unbiased account of her life, her story, which I've done. Thank you. She's saying because you are the messenger. That's me. That's why I wear a feather, because I'm the messenger. Okay. Thank you so much for coming forward. Many blessings to you and your memory. Thank you. And God's love be with you. She's saying she's going to walk away now, but she can hopefully repair her memory. She's given her some peace. It's given her some peace and peace of mind. Excuse me. That her true story has been relayed, because this was what we would call today a massive miscarriage of justice, and I think it's disgusting. I really do. It's brought a smile to her face now, and she thanks me. Thank you very much. And she's walking away. She's happy now, and she's going into the light. Thank you. She's gone. This has been it's been a privilege to tell this story. On the other hand, it's been an horrendous story, and stories like this are coming forward all the time, but a lot of them don't want me to put these out on a video. She asked me, she says, if I tell you my story, will you put it on your machine? And that's exactly what I've done, and this account now is documented and will be going on live for everybody in the world to see, because these things should never ever have been played out. It's ridiculous. People, uneducated people, that think that this is happening when in fact it's not. Anyway, thank you very much for tuning on this very special video, and thank you for joining me. And if you like what I do, please like and subscribe and hit the little bell so any new videos that comes across, when people come across them to me and I can film them, that you get a new notification. And on that note, I'd like to leave it there, and thank you, and thanks for tuning in. Thank you. Bye-bye.